This might be one of the most insane films I watched this year, and I tell you what, I had a lot of fun with it. I'm ready to jump into my review of the new film, Carter. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're reviewing the film Carter, which is coming to Netflix August 5th. Now, this film stars Jae-young, who I'm not familiar with. Kind of looked at his resume. None of his previous projects I was familiar with, but I got to say, if he continues this path of wanting to be an action star, he absolutely got one with this one. And whether he did all of his stunts or not, he really carried this film. I mean, he has the look of an action star. He had the demeanor, the mannerisms of an action star. And again, whether he did all of his stunts or some, he surely knew how to throw down in a big fight and make these fight scenes seem a lot bigger at times than they actually were. And what I mean by that is because, like, you know, most of the times in action films, you lead up to the ultimate final battle, that final fight, that third act. And even some of the smaller fights felt really big. And I think it had a lot to do with his choreography, the stunt coordination, everything that brings together in the good fights. But obviously, no matter what, the person that face you're looking at still has to wear the part. And I thought he did a really good job. Now, again, folks, who's just kind of jumping on the bandwagon in Korean cinema, here's another good example as to why Korean cinema is some of the best martial arts film and content out there, bar none. This film really was action-packed, really was non-stop. I mean, for 2 hours and I guess almost 30 minutes, it was just one thing after another, after another. Like, truly hats off to the stunt coordination, the stunt crew. I mean, they deserve endless props for everything that they brought to making this film happen. And I also got to say, you know, while there was some practical aspects to it, certainly the other tip of the hat goes to the visuals crew, who truly got their money's worth in this film. So overall, the production of this film is exactly what you want in a action film. You start off right in the midst of action and it's just completely non-stop. Now, I'm gonna talk about what the film was about, but I do want to talk about what this film felt like to me first. Now, if you've ever played any type of action adventure game, something like Shenmue or something like those old Die Hard games and whatnot, you know, it felt like that. You have your action lead, you have your protagonist, whatever it's going to be, you have the narration in the background, whether you got some form of AI or some type of just intelligence in his ear narrating what he or she is supposed to be doing and navigating through your adventure. It felt much like that, you know what I mean? You got thrown right into the action. The character Carter, who had lost his memory, so really trying to navigate who he is and where he's at and what he needs to do. It's much like when you pick up a video game for the first time and you knew it looked good, but you didn't know exactly what you needed to do, and you're learning the configurations and whatnot. It felt a lot like that. But Carter, as I said, he wakes up with no memory of who he is and what he's supposed to be doing, but he certainly not knows how to hold his own. He gets into a fight immediately, shall I add. But there is a DMZ virus that is going on, and when you are affected by this virus, it turns you into a killer. This virus is happening in the midst of in Korea, between North Korea and South Korea, which in this case North Korea and South Korea are sort of working together in order to try to come out with a treatment. Now, there is a scientist who has figured out a treatment by testing on his daughter, which now makes his daughter one of the most valuable assets in all of the world. The US has some involvement in this as well, but it's nothing else to really mention at the time being. But so Carter is tasked with finding this girl, the scientist's daughter, also figuring out his own life, which then he has to realize that he needs to figure out where his daughter's at. So he's on a mission to save two young ladies and deliver them to his organization that he may be involved with in order to try to figure out a treatment. Now, there is a agent A9, a secret organization, A9, which is a secret branch under the CIA. That's also sort of his foes here. CIA, so we're obviously talking about the US here. And they also want their involvement in this. You know, they want the asset for themselves. And this is where we kind of see Carter with his group of folks basically trying to counteract the A9, which is again the CIA subdivision, in order to not only save this girl, but in order to you know, get her so they can the scientists can go forward with the treatment, because the little girl was kidnapped, so they cannot further their testing and in trials without her. So yeah, like I said, you know, Carter, you in this movie, you're starting right off in the midst of things, and it's just a lot going on. You know, he's being narrated, as I said. With this being a Korean film, I did watch the dub version. The dub was okay. You know, sometimes it's obviously very noticeable in it, but in this case it wasn't that bad. You know, I didn't have a problem with it at all. So I thought the dubbing was done well. And then again, it's just action and more action, and then the mystery of this main character and whatnot, which is kind of in the background of things, because there's so much action happening in the front in this big world of unknown, especially for the character. But for us, it's just like you know, you don't have time to think about anything else because there's just so much action going on. But like I said, the cinematography is insane. There is a couple of one shots in this film, and if they're not one shots, they're definitely two shots, and they're just really spliced together really well. So the cinematography is just completely insane, and I for sure know that you know, when it came down to the cinematography, they had a lot of fun with drone shots. This drone was just going around, all these aerial shots and whatnot. It was insane. I said in a few reviews ago that, you know, I thought that drones was the future of action cinema, and well, yeah, here we are in the future, because they used the drone to no end in this film. And with that being said too, you know, if it wasn't that, then they had these really cinematic, crazy transitions happening from scene to scene, which was really dope. And even there was even times where it felt like maybe they manned up somebody with a GoPro, because they had the action very up close and intimate with what you were seeing on the screen, that you almost felt like you were a part of the action. So like, by all means, this film did a really good job in keeping you very engaged in the action by whatever bit of cinematography tricks that they wanted to use. The opening scene and sequence is completely impressive. I mean, it set the bar of the film, it set the tone. So you know, be ready that once this film starts, you're in the midst of things. Like I said, like the action goes, and they do a very, very impressive opening of this film. Now again, with all the visual and stuff, yes, there's CG, and I think the CG at a point just further, you know, I think it just further adds to my comment of this feeling like a video game. You know, it truly does. It extends disbelief on all accounts. So like, just have fun with this film, because this film takes the impossible and just goes above and beyond that at any given time. You know, there's moments where you're just like, oh, they wouldn't do that, and certainly they do. They always do that. Always. At every given moment that you think they would not do a certain stunt, they absolutely do it. Like I'm telling you, this film is just completely just like overkill. Now, I wouldn't say overkill, because that sounds like a negative thing, but this film absolutely at any given point says like, listen, this was the margin that we wanted to be in, but we're gonna go above that at any given time, you know. And again, I just want to say, if Ju-won, who's our lead, who plays Carter, if he had performed all of his stunts, I mean, he has to be talked about in some of the, you know, one of the most notable up and coming action stars. And even if he did not, this was still a very impressive outing and display and acting, as he truly carried this film. Now, as I said, every fight felt big, and it wasn't even like, you know, they set the stage for the fight to feel big, but they just ended up feeling big, to the point that I started to wonder, like, I wonder what the final act's gonna be like. And indeed, once you got to the final act, it was completely insane. You know, it was insane. Every moment felt completely cinematic. And from car chasing scenes to cars to airplanes, to constant action, to trains, to helicopters. This film just really goes above and beyond the impossible at any given point. Now, certainly this film was not flawless, but it was entirely fun. And my God, it looks like they're setting up for a sequel, and I did not see that coming. But hey, I really enjoyed this film. This is the type of film that when it goes down to films that I seek out, this is absolutely one. I have been a big fan of Korean cinema, and this is just another installment as to why. And as the American audience continues to be acclimated with Korean cinema, I think this is a film that you totally go out the way to see, that you make sure your friends see. Don't wait for it to go viral and all that other stuff for people to go check it out. You heard it here. If you love films like you've been watching of recently, where it's completely brutal, gory, good action, good cinematography, good choreography, good beyond amazing stunts. I mean, and they're not all practical, but for the ones that are practical, they're good, and for the ones that's not, it's exactly what you want. It's the icing of the cake, and it's just an action-packed, non-stop fun film. So check out Carter, jump in the comments once you do, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.